Hey friends, so I've decided to make Chelsea buns um, just prior to the holidays. It's getting down to the minute. I promised someone years ago that I would make them the year before COVID, and I didn't. But I just want to say I'm using a combination. There was a question whether I would use the British version, which is original, and this so-called Muskoka version, which is Muskoka is a place like a vacation holiday place north of Toronto, but they just look like sticky buns to me, and or cinnamon buns with caramel, aka sticky buns, and I don't really think that's what Chelsea buns are. But I have to say that I am going to add a few of my own twists here because I think that's called for. So first of all, I'm doubling the recipe because my pans are kind of this 9 by 7. No, it's probably I'd say that's a 12 by 9 pan, and the recipe calls for 6. Well, let's just see. 3 by 3 is 9, but my pans are large enough for 12. So I'm doubling the recipe, and I'm using my big professional mixer. I'm using strong flour, aka hard flour, aka bread flour, because this is basically a form of bread. And we're just going to get started here. I'm going to and also I'm using I'm measuring in metric because this is the foundation for this recipe is a British recipe. So I have 80 grams of butter. You can always Google, like I always have to do, the conversions, and I can supply the conversions easily if you really want to know. I'm going to get this, well, I don't know what that is. Take that out. I'm going to get this butter and milk mixture melting to a tepid temperature. This is 300 millimeters of milk, and another 300 with the 80 grams of butter. Hold on, you need to put it on try to be scientific. You would never measure a thing without putting it on a flat surface. So that's the other. And I'll just put that on low, medium low, while I put my 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm just using table salt for this because I don't really know how kosher salt will react in this. That's one. And doing it this method. I've used lots of methods to make bread, but I've never really done this kind of crazy mix it in your bowl, then add the yeast, and then add the warm mixture before. That's a first for me. So we're just gonna mix this up nicely. Oh, I didn't mention that that's 1 kilogram of hard flour, which is around 20.21 ounces of flour. Oh, okay, don't do that. Oh dear. Just want to mix the salt and we just want to mix it together. And then we're going to make a well and put in 17, make a well in the center. This is kind of mimicking pre-industrial age, like pre-21st century, when we have these handy mixers, electronic devices, nouveau, where you make a well, put in your 17 grams of yeast, and wait for your milk to warm up and your butter to melt. But it's important that when that happens, it's not more than tepid. So if it gets warmer than that, you'll have to let it cool down, or else you'll have dead yeast. And at this point, I think it will be good to get your dough hook out, but I can get that dough hook out when this is all melted. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm doing the finger test. Yes, the hands are clean, and I'm not burning. So this is cooled down enough to pour into the flour and yeast mixture. The yeast is in the center. This is butter and warm milk, remember? And we're going to attach the dough hook now. And this is where we do the kneading, start slowly. I'll just say that when a recipe calls for kneading for 5 or 10 minutes by hand, if you use a machine, 5 means 3 and 10 means 5. That's just a tip from experience. So this says knead 5 minutes by hand. So the other tip is just don't pay attention. You'll know because it will be elastic and pull away from the bowl. Just mixing it here before I turn it on a little higher and turning it up a little. And that will bring the flour in from the sides and will decrease the kneading time. By the way, I already buttered a large bowl. And we're going to, when this is ready, we're going to let it rise for an hour and then cut it in half because it's a double recipe. Top of my oven is really hot, so I'm removing my bowl. Just wanted you to know about it. Okay, you can kind of see the action going on here. It's what we call shaggy, and that means it's not together. I'm going to turn on the timer to 3 minutes, just for a little bit of a gauge. If it doesn't come fully together right away, you can add some water. A handful of water is a teaspoon, well, in my hands, and that helps because I can hear it struggling. There are no foolproof measures here. It's really experience. When sometimes the flour is impacted, I weighed it, so it should be correct, but also doubling recipes also brings with it its own problems. I didn't need that last bit of water because I can see it coming together. The machine's struggling with it, but that's often the case with bread making. I'll turn it down because I can see there's nothing. I don't know if you can see it, but there's nothing in the bowl. No flour, no residuals, no shakiness, and therefore this is just the way you would do it on a bench. And because it's not really quite smooth enough, I'm gonna leave it in here for another, doing that for a minute and a half. And then I'm gonna turn it out here and do it by hand. Oop, I guess I'm burning the wood again. My bad. Okay. When this comes out, I will know. I'll turn it in my hands like this. I'm using the heels of my hands for a couple turns. I have about 30 seconds left if you bear with me. And we're going to put it in the bowl and throw cling film, saran wrap, or whatever over the bowl and let it rise. There's a good reason why I use the big machine for a double recipe, because my other one this would burn out the engine of the Classic. It's called the KitchenAid Classic. It doesn't have the power. You start to smell electrodes, burning electrodes. You start to smell the, oh, there's my 3 minutes. Okay. You can see how it's come together. It looks like it's been kneaded a long time. Still quite warm, which is nice. That means the yeast will have lots of energy. And we're just gonna roll it. We're just gonna knead it a bit until we have a smoothness that you want. I think it's already there. Okay, so I may have put in a little bagel spices into this by accident without realizing it, but I'm not complaining. Okay, so you form it. It's nice and smooth. And then we do this. Throw the smooth side down, turn it around, turn it right back up again, cover it with cling film, and let rest to rise. Double. I expect it to be quite large. It will take about an hour. Thanks a lot. See you in an hour. All right, folks. So while the dough is rising, you want to prepare for the filling, and the filling is actually mixed on the dough and it's rolled up like a roulade. So I have already melted 50 grams of butter. I have 150 grams of light brown sugar. I have 600 grams of dried fruit. And I didn't divide it evenly among raisins, cranberries, and dried apricots because I prefer more cranberry and less raisin. And then, of course, I chopped up the apricots so that they were very close in size to the other fruits. Cranberries didn't need to be chopped, but the apricots did. And so, you know, I got close enough. Then we have 4 teaspoons of cinnamon. First, you're going to use your trusty pastry brush and wipe on the butter. Then you're going to sprinkle the sugar. Then you're going to sprinkle the cinnamon. Then you're going to sprinkle the dried fruits. And then you're going to sprinkle the zest of 1 orange, maybe 1.5. I'll zest both of the oranges with my trusty rasp because I'd like to put at least the zest of half an orange on the top before I glaze it and gild the lily with a little surprise. And so I'm just wanting you to know what you can do before the dough rises. That's what I'm doing, and my dough will be risen. Oh, my dough is really fully risen. It's going to be about 13 more minutes before I divide it up and roll it out. See you then. Okay, so the worst thing you can do is overproof it or underproof it. So because I'm videoing this, I have less time in between processes. So I put it in the fridge to retard the growth because it needs to rise once more. So there's the dough. And I'm a little rushed now because I feel that it could have risen too much. So you'll have to bear with me. And remember that I have 12 rolls to make. The recipe called for 9. That means that I have, and I doubled the recipe, which means I have 25% more dough than I need. So that'll go back in the bowl and back in the fridge. I'll make that up later since it's so late already. I'm not going to try to do 2 batches tonight. We'll take this piece here and roll it out to about 16 by 10. Try not to smack my lips here, but I can't hear it until I see the videos, and that's because, well, that's a long story. Okay, so I want the long side to be, there's my trusty 1960s frozen pin. Here's my measuring device, works good for ordering clothes online. I want the long side to be parallel to myself, to my body. Okay, so I'm going to put this around my neck, and I'm gonna gently roll this out. The oven was on to help keep the ambient temperature in the room nice, but I turned it off ages ago. Now I see that I'm not getting a rectangle, and that's just going to take a little finessing. I also realized that this dough possibly rose too much, which would actually mean that the second rise isn't good. And so I'm crossing the fingers that that's not the case. Okay, and now I want to measure. Okay, well, I got 12, and I got 11, and then I got 15 and 16. So that's gonna be, I think that's gonna be good. I just want to take some of the fatness from that side and put it onto this side. And as no dough comes out like a geometric shape, we're ready to go. As long as I can find, oh yeah, just a moment here. I need my accoutrement, oh, wrong accoutrement. Wrong. This is what we need. Hope I'm not smacking my mouth yet. I'm sure I'll hear it on the video. It seems to pick it up. Oh, did you hear that? Dry mouth is a condition that affects many people. Just saying, PSA. And sorry about it. Okay, so we have our melted butter for the base. We're gonna, because this isn't the kind of roll that you do for, you know, filled chicken or dumplings or lovely turnovers, it's okay to go to the edge. In fact, we want it to go to the edge. And if you get a little flour on your brush, you're just wasting butter, because that just makes everything moot. Okay, so we have this little lovely thing. Then we're going to sprinkle our brown sugar evenly, like that. Can't believe the heat from the oven's still coming up. Kind of annoys me because I don't want to cook the dough before I'm even done. And I want to use 3/4 of this brown sugar. So don't be stingy. You can always put it out, even it out later. But it is really going to make the interior of the buns caramely, and also add some moisture to the, let's see here, a little bit more. Okay, don't need all of it. We're going to put it as close to the edge as possible. Spread, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you don't want to overdo it because you'll end up with burnt sugar on the bottom of your tray. I think that looks good. And then we're going to take 3 of the 4 teaspoons of, remember I'm doing 3/4 of the double recipe. That means 1/4 is for me to make for myself. I'm actually not making this for myself. It's a gift to the McDonald family. And I'm pretty sure they'll enjoy it. Okay, so that's the cinnamon, which you can smell through smell-o-vision right now. And then we're going to do the same with the orange zest. It's very light and delicate, and the only thing about the amount is what do you have, because I like to put this fresh on the top after it's baked as well. So I think I'll leave that. for that time. And then we're going to, I just want to use my hands here. We're going to put on the fruit mixture, 3 types of dried fruit. Raisins being the raisins. You mean sultanas? Yes, I mean sultanas. I prefer to have fewer sultanas and more cranberries and apricots. So you just do it your own way. And remember, 3/4 of the mixture, which is 600 grams in total. These are broken. These need to be broken up. Just remember, you need to have 25% less left over for your other dough. Well, I'm talking to myself right now because I know that that's what I need for my personal 3 buns. Anyway, so that looks good. If it looks good, it is good. Well, rule of thumb. If it looks good, it should be good. Trying to use proper language. And we're going to, hold on, give me a second. We're going to pin this. We're gonna roll the long side and pin it like that, okay? The reason being, this isn't a cookie or a roulade, it's bread dough and it's quite tricky. And then we're gonna tightly roll the bread dough, the bun dough, sorry. You can feel it, And you don't have to be afraid, you can push it, squish it. Just try to be even with it. If it doesn't get even, squish it more. Okay. And then we're gonna, oh, I think I made enough for 2 whole. Wow, I didn't expect that. Okay. So the push side is at the bottom. We're gonna, some of the filling came out. I'm gonna use my scraper utensil, also known as a, here, let's try to make it even. The odor, smell, it's great. I think this is too much dough with no filling. I'm correct. And then this is probably too much dough with no filling. And now I want to make decisive cuts. These can be testers, you can just put them on another tray and see how the cooking's going. Okay, so I'm back to the decisive cut stage. And I'm using a serrated knife to get rid of the doughy ends, which I'll be using for testers to see if they're cooked properly. I think the serrated knife is good. You can see there's more dough than fruit. And I want to let's divide this 1/2, and each half should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's another 10. Okay, so 10 is actually appropriate for this pan. And we're just gonna put the cut side down in a very well butter greased pan with butter. You notice that my dough is not over risen. That's because I redid it today. I didn't like how they turned out yesterday. Okay. And they have enough space to rise for the next 30 minutes. Once they get all in there. I do like the serrated knife version. Oops. The dough is very moist, that's how you want it. And this time I actually pressed the quite firmly and gently the fruit into the dough so it wouldn't fall out. Chelsea buns, Chelsea buns. And I think that we're gonna get a good result. Okay, so that's 6. I'm not using my markers anymore. I'm using my eyeball because some were not. Some of these markers look like they're too thick. You see the difference? That means I'm gonna get one more, probably. Oh, dough is sticky. The dough is sticky because there's a lot of moisture in one egg. It's an enriched dough. Push in the cranberries. Put it in nicely. Maybe turn it over. Okay. And then let's make this log. It's been squished. And I think that we need to get 3 more out of this. I'm not gonna get 12, but that's okay. My pan is not the same dimensions as those British pans. Okay, this one is, these are gonna be thinner, but squish, 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 they're gonna be nice. So we're not going to fuss with it very much. Let's just close the end of this one. It looks small now, but it won't be. And then these are going to be, oh, let's put in my test rolls just for fun. Because when I see how they work, I'll know how. I don't want to make them too tight. These are the test rolls. I want them to be removable. And we can leave space between these because these are going to rise wrapped in plastic wrap for 30 minutes before they go in at 375 Fahrenheit. And then I'll show you how I finish off the Chelsea buns. Okay, folks, it's just been over half an hour, and you can see my lovely friends here have risen and kind of snuggled together in a nice fashion, including my 2 test bakes. Those I'll be able to eat or test/eat to make sure everything is baking correctly. And the rest, hopefully, I'll be able to give to the McDonald family when they're done. So they're going in for 20 to 25 minutes at 375. I'll be checking them at 15 minutes. If the tops are too brown, I'll put some foil on the top. But now we can get on to some of the finishing touches, which is going to be, in this case, a nice drizzle of glaze, which is icing, sugar, and water. So that's 3 heaping tablespoons. But that will be on top of a traditional French glaze, which is used very often to make pastries shiny, which is apricots. Apricot jam. Remember, there's apricot in the, sorry for that jiggle. There's apricot in the Chelsea buns. And I'll just be skirting this over. Sorry for the camera work. And add some water. I made a couple of heaping tablespoons of water to the apricots. Turn that on, medium. And I'll add to the icing sugar a couple of teaspoons of water. Oh, I have the wrong one on, of course. How obvious. Okay, and then I'm going to throw in the rest of my orange zest into my drizzle here. And all this is going to get mixed up in time for these to come out, because you do want to glaze with your apricot glaze. You do want them to be warm, not hot. The buns are going to be warm, not hot. And then when it's totally chilled, you're going to drizzle with this. And obviously I need more water. So, or a little milk, maybe a little milk. Doesn't really make a difference. It's just a matter of how you get the drizzle effect. And whether it's water or milk, it just affects the opacity. Okay, the Chelsea buns are out. That beeping means that they've cooled for 10 minutes so that they're still warm to the touch, because you want them to be warm to receive the apricot glaze. And we're gonna attempt this turnover here. Bottom's still very hot. Let's hope it, oh look, almost perfect. I have a little piece left to try, and that'll go back in there. And then I have my other rack. Remember, these two are the test buns, but I might give them, I can tell by looking that these turned out really well. So I might give the test buns to the McDonald family. They're the ones that requested this. And then we're gonna turn this back over. And I'm going to gild the lily. Well, I just think it's festive. I'm using glacé cherries from my favorite gourmet store because this is not traditional. It's just nice to have little red buttons. I'm just pressing them down. The buns are still very warm, So they'll receive this now. This is your apricot, your classic apricot jam. Glaze. You know, I'm smacking my lips right now because I ate a cherry. Anyway, this is how you get your pastries. This is how you get glossy pastries. And the color is, and it's like you varnished your painting, right? Your oil painting. It kind of makes things a little golden and deepens the color. So I'm just going to continue this.